Well, thank you for joining us tonight for Devotional. Would like to read something a little bit different this evening. It is from Rob Bell's book, Velvet Elvis, which is an older book of his, but it's kind of fun. And just want to share a bit of a story that he tells. And he likes to, he's got a neat writing style in this one. And this one is, the section is entitled Jump. And he starts by telling a story. Several years ago, my parents and in-laws gave our boys a trampoline, a 15-footer with netting around the outside so that kids don't end up headfirst in the flowers. And since then, my boys and I have logged more hours on that trampoline than I could begin to count. When we first got it, my older son, who was 5 at the time, discovered that if he timed his bounce with mine, he could launch higher than if he was jumping on his own. I remember the first time he called my wife, Kristen, out to the backyard to watch him jump off of my bounce. Now, mind you, up to this point, he was maybe getting a foot higher because of this new technique. But this one particular time, when my wife was watching for the first time, something freakish happened in the space-time continuum. When he jumped, there was this perfect convergence of his weight and my weight and his jump and my jump. And I'm sure barometric pressure and air temperature had something to do with it because he went really high. I don't mean a few feet off of the mat. I mean he went over my head. 40 pounds of boy clawing the air like a cat thrown from a second-story window, and a man making eye contact with his wife and thinking, this is not good. She told us she didn't think our new trick was very safe and that we should be careful, which we were, until she went into the house. It was on this trampoline that God has started to make more sense to me. Because when it comes to faith, everybody has it. People often tell me that they could never have faith. It's just too hard. The idea that some people have faith and others don't is a popular one, but it's not a true one. Everyone has faith. Everybody is following somebody. What often happens is that people with specific beliefs about God end up backed into a corner, defending their faith against the calm, cool rationality of others, as if they have faith and beliefs and others don't. But that's not true. Let's take an example. Some people believe we were made by a creator who has plans and purposes for his creation, while others believe there is no greater meaning to life, no grand design, and that we exist not because of some divine intention, but because of random chance. This is not a discussion between people of faith and people who don't have faith. Both perspectives are faith perspectives, built on systems of belief. The person who says that we're here by chance and that there's no greater meaning has just as many beliefs as the person who says that there's a creator, maybe even more. Now think about some of the words that we are used in these kinds of discussions. One of the most common being the phrase open-minded. Often the person with spiritual convictions is seen as closed-minded, and others are seen as open-minded. And what's fascinating to me, Rob Bell says, is that at the center of the Christian faith is the assumption that life is not all that there is, that there's more to life than the material, that existence is not limited to what we can see and touch and measure and taste and hear and observe. And one of the central assertions of the Christian worldview is that there is more. Those who oppose this insist that this is all that there is. Only what we can measure and observe and see with our eyes is real. There is nothing else. Which perspective is more closed-minded? Which perspective is more open? In this context, an atheist is a person of tremendous faith. In our discussions about the things that matter most, then, we're not talking about faith or no faith, belief or no belief. We are talking about faith in what? Belief in what? And the real question isn't whether or not we have it, but what we have put it in. Everybody follows somebody. All of us make decisions every day about what's important, how to treat people, and what to do with our lives. These decisions come from what we believe about every aspect of our existence. And we got our beliefs from somewhere. We have been formed, every one of us, by this complicated mix of people and places and things, parents and teachers and artists and scientists and mentors. We are each taking all of these influences and living our lives according to the teachings that we have made our own. And some insist that they're not influenced by any particular person or any religion that they think for themselves. And that's an honorable perspective. The problem is they got that perspective from somebody. They're following somebody, even if they insist it is themselves that they are following. Everyone is following somebody. Everyone has faith in something and somebody. We are all believers. And I thought that was interesting. I wanted to share that this evening because I took a look at what the daily lectionary readings were for today, the scriptures that many in the great tradition of Christian belief, will use as a guide to reading through the Bible over a course of years. And one of today's readings from the New Testament was from the first letter of John, and verse 4 and verses 1 through 6. I'd like to share that with you because I think it ties into what Rob Bell was saying here. And John writes, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world, and by this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God. And every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist, of which you have heard is coming, and is now already in the world. Little children, you are from God, and have conquered them. For the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. They are from the world, and therefore what they say is from the world, and the world listens to them. We are from God. Whoever knows God listens to us, and whoever is not from God does not listen to us. And from this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error." And there's a lot to unpack there, and we're not going to be able to unpack that in just a very brief devotional tonight. But one of the things that struck me about that I'd just like us to ponder is, as we're trying to make all kinds of discernments about life, what's good, what's true, what's real, even how do we read scripture, how do we understand our culture or the various cultures that we interact with, identifying our own and letting the gospel penetrate that and challenge us and tell a better story. One of the things I hear John saying is, if we want to know the real story, if we want to know the story worth believing, worth entrusting our lives to, a story of more, as Rob Bell says, it's a story that will reflect the image of God who has come to us in the person of Jesus. An act of love, an act of revealing of God's character, an act of the desire to open and invite and to restore and redeem. A story worth being a part of. And wherever you are in your journey, whatever we're working through right now in our own set of faiths and beliefs, for we all have them, and we are all continuing to shape them, may we be invited to take a deeper look at Jesus, the Jesus that both affirms parts of our lives and also challenges parts of our lives, the Jesus who invites us to go deeper into what life is all about, the Jesus who has conquered this world in all of its present problems, the Jesus who is in the midst of all things, working to redeem the times. May we be evermore a part of that story that God is unfolding in the world. And may God bless you wherever you are tonight. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.